Hi, I'm Troy Alexander for Child Support Game Over, co-author of this book. It's over 300 pages of helpful, useful information to help you fight this evil, corrupt child support system. So, I just want to make a point real quick. We do not advocate fathers abandoning their children or not taking care of their children. We believe in a man having paternal rights and responsibilities, and a man meeting those responsibilities. But we believe that this system has, while giving the man the bill for raising the child, taken away his paternal rights. And we advocate for at least joint custody. And that is something that this system does not allow. But I want to delve into how this system is operating. And this is something we've covered in our videos, and a lot of people just do not seem to get. And maybe they're not convinced. Maybe because we're the only ones saying it, it's going to take hearing more than once. First off, there is no such thing as child support court or title-ivd court. We had someone we helped, helped when he had a court date. He asked the presiding judge if this was circuit court, and the judge said yes, it is. The so-called judge. And his next question was, well, then is this civil or is this criminal? As truthfully, it's neither. And the judge corrected himself, and he said this is family court, as if that was an answer. There is no such thing as title-ivd or family court. It's a kabuki theater. And this is something we've been trying to open men's eyes to. If you do not understand the battlefield, then you're going to lose every battle. And men are doing silly things like trying to avoid becoming an obligor. Well, you can only become an obligor if you're a non-custodial parent. And this system has no right to declare you a non-custodial parent. This is something that I faced myself with my wife. I consider her my wife, but we don't have a marriage license. And they came after us, and they immediately determined that I was a non-custodial parent. See, if you're living with the woman in the same household, they will say, oh, well, you're a family unit. But if you're not in the same household, now they're going to say, well, she has custody, or someone has custody, and there is a non-custodial parent. That does not have to be the case. But again, this system is incentivized for the destruction of families. By determining you a non-custodial parent, they get more money from the huge sum of money set aside to fund the system, which is in excess of $60 billion a year. And the performance of each state is calculated on how many families are not given joint custody. If the rate of joint custody goes over something like 50%, then the funding from the federal government from this big pile of money disappears. So this is not executive. This is not administrative. This is actually a business that has been set up and is being operated under the Hague Convention of Children's Rights. And this is something we've covered a lot of times. And I again encourage you, I'm looking at the view counts on our videos. You need to go back, watch all our videos, get up to speed, and then the things we're saying are going to make more sense. So I want to tell you about a friend of mine was here visiting me this week, and he's from California, and we were talking about his the court stuff that he had to face. He was dredging in California. The Supreme Court of California had made a ruling that the DNR or Fish and Game or Wildlife, whatever it's called out there, was their program was illegal. and depriving minors of the rights to dredge in the rivers of California. This is the Supreme Court of California. And again, this DNR stuff, the CPS, this forced vaccination is all being done under international treaties. And they are coming down as programs. And there is no DNR court. So the fishing game came and arrested him, confiscated his dredge, and he had to go to court numerous times. They arrested him, they put him in jail. And I believe because he was a member of the 49ers, they might have a gag order on it. I don't have a gag order. The 49ers group sued the fishing game, but my friend, he was being dragged into court over and over again, and he said there'd never be a judge in the court. There would be supposedly 2 judges assigned, one for each courtroom in the county he was in. But when you get there would be no judges available to hear his case, and so it would be postponed and postponed. And that is because they were actually operating halfway legally, because this cannot be heard by a judge of a court. It is heard by a court commissioner, but it's not even a court commissioner. It's, I forget, in Wisconsin, it's like a special court commissioner. We covered this in another video, the difference. And so the judges knew they could not hear this, so they would not be available, because there is no DNR court. There is no fish and game court. There is no child support court. There's no Title IV-D court. There is no family court. Like my friend that we helped counsel, he went in and asked the judge right off the bat, is this a circuit court? Because they want to give the kabuki theater that you're in an actual court. And they will claim to be a circuit court, but they're not. This cannot be heard by circuit court judge, by a court or the judge. He has to act outside his judicial capacity. And this special court commissioner is actually acting in a ministerial, non-judicial capacity in making these determinations and orders, so-called orders of child support payment. But if you look into it, you weren't sued, you don't have a judgment, you don't have a debt. They say you have arrearages. And this is something to understand and keep in mind when fighting this corrupt system. There is no child support court. So he said, is this circuit court? And yes, it's circuit court. Well, is it civil or criminal? And then the judge thought for a second, came a little bit clean, and said, well, this is family court, as if that explains it all. There is no family court. If it's a circuit court, if it's a state court, it's got to be either civil, which means there's a contract or you're being sued, or it's criminal, and it's neither. And we had this also when Sam went in and was fighting the DNR because they had revoked his fishing license illegally, without notice, without due process, and then handed him a ticket, and it was around $750. And he said, look, you do not have jurisdiction to hear this. And it was interesting. I was there, and everyone's mouth about dropped. The assistant DA said, I have to agree with Sam that the court commissioner couldn't hear this. Well, then they rescheduled it for an actual judge to hear it, and he came back, and we were pretty curious how they would react, because the judge couldn't hear this. And if the judge did hear this, the judge was admitting to being the referring judge. Anything that goes to a court commissioner has to be referred by a judge. So the judge can't hear it. So the judge can't refer it. And this is why the Denovo Motion, which we covered in another video, is so powerful. You're taking a ruling by a court commissioner and saying, I don't agree with this, and throw it out, and I want it to be heard by the referring judge. So that's what happened in this case. Sam goes down, and instead of the assistant DA there, they had the DA there, and he quickly took Sam to the side and said, what do you want to do? Because he knew that if he was brought before the judge, and the judge admitted to being the referring judge. The judge was now basically, it was a female judge, putting her head in the noose. So this is something you need to understand, that there is no court. It is a kabuki theater. It is being handled, it is being administered by a business. This is a child support business. It is an assessment coming from the Secretary of Health and Human Services, who has delegated the authority to handle this. He was given the right to have a deputy, and it appears they deputized the Office of Child Support Enforcement, which is a pass-through organization for the funding. It is not part of the executive program as far as we are concerned. And now this deputy, and I think this is another huge chink in how they're doing this, this deputy is now saying, well, we're going to create deputies ourselves. Well, where was that authority given? If a sheriff has a deputy, can he go out and deputize whoever he wants? They are now creating these child support agencies within your county. At the county level, there's a child support agency, a county child support agency. It might be Langlade County Child Support Agency, but it is not a part of the county. Within the county, they might have an office, a child support office, but this agency, the child support agency, are agents for the business of Office of Child Support Enforcement. Or in other words, they are deputies of the deputies, and that authority does not exist. They are not making court orders. You don't have a court order. You have an order from a business known as Office of Child Support Enforcement from their agent. Again, the state isn't a party because there was no assignment of rights, because there's no injury, sickness, or death. That's a fraud. It's not a court, circuit court. That's a fraud. You have someone making an assessment in the name of the Secretary of Health and Human Services, who's a deputy of a deputy. And you've got this kabuki judge who is operating outside of his judicial authority, and judges are not allowed to hold positions of non-judicial office. And they are working administratively and handing down these kabuki orders. So again, I encourage you, get our book, Child Support Game Over. It helps to explain the battlefield for you so you can fight this corrupt evil system and stand on your paternal rights. Please like and subscribe, and we'll hopefully catch you next time. Thank you.